and everything too. So that's had the whole gamut already. So
Well, thank you for switching gears this morning for us.
Hey, Nicole.
Yes.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes. Although you have tremendous feedback, are you also trying to watch on YouTube?
No, we're not. But
Hang on.
wow.
Echo.
I like them in an echo.
We
Nicole,
are.
Nicole,
ahead.
let me know when we're ready to start. Let me know when you're ready.
We are ready. We are recording and we are live on YouTube.
Okay, if we're ready to go, I'd like to, it's 10 o'clock. Let's call the meeting to order of the Finance and Administration Committee for Isabella County. Call the public. Do we have any public on the line?
We do not have any public calling into the Zoom meeting. I know we have folks watching on YouTube this morning, but the way, if you want to make a public comment in the meeting, call the number on the meeting posting and enter the Zoom meeting. But as of now, Chairman, there is no one in the Zoom meeting for public comment.
I'll wait another 10, 15 seconds and then we'll move on. All right, hearing no other further calls, we will move on to our next item on our agenda. The Branrow Enterprises President Ron Colvin in regards to an energy audit presentation. Ron, I see he's muted, so.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that.
Much better.
All right. So yeah, I'm from Branrow, and I have Greg Weidemeyer with me, and then also online, Ryan is supposed to be joining us too as part of our team.
I'm here. Yeah.
Okay, good, Ryan. Okay, thanks. Yeah, Branrow, just a little bit about us, and then we are a turnkey solution for offering energy efficiency projects. And for example, we just finished up Gladwin County, and we did the courthouse, the jail, and the veterans building, and the public safety. We put in building management systems in all 4 buildings. We replaced 6 boilers. We replaced their 50-ton chiller. We replaced all their lights to LED. And in addition, on all 3 levels of the courthouse, we replaced all their perimeter glass and frames. So, you know, we do whatever we can do to save on energy cost in a facility and lower your operational cost. So in addition, offering flexible financing, which normally puts the payment less than the savings, and you get a rebate. That's kind of in a nutshell. I've got Greg here with me too, and so he can say a couple of things and we can answer any questions you might have.
Well, more importantly, do you have any questions up to this point?
Colvin?
I'm sorry?
Oh,
not yet?
I think we'll listen. I think I'd rather just listen to your presentation and then I'll have probably some questions, and Commissioner Hope may have some questions too. So why don't you finish your presentation and then we'll answer questions after that.
All right. We are in the business of reducing your operational costs, and it can go from obviously energy as part of that. We also look at length of life on your equipment, and then we look at labor associated with repairs. So energy is certainly a part of it, as Ron said, but we also look at many other things that are part of operational costs and owning and operating a facility that you have. We, with Steve and Jerry, we went through briefly the state police building and the county building. Both of those, you can look at it a couple ways. You've got some issues, but there also are very good opportunities to lower your overall operating costs and increase the efficiency, because you're coming to the end, the useful life of a lot of your HVAC lighting. If you are interested in security, we can help you with that too. So after a brief show of what you have, there is opportunity. The way we go to business is that we do not charge for surveys. We are different in that fact that we're not in the survey business. We're in the installation business. So we spend time to talk with you, see what you want, see how serious you are about it, how you want to proceed, and put a plan in place. And then based on that, if you decide to go forward, we will go through your facilities and do we call it an operational outlook. What we do is we take pictures of the things that we believe that could be replaced, could save you money, or will be available for rebates, and we bring them back to you. It's hard to get everybody to walk through 7 buildings. Everybody has something to do. Then we talk about them and kind of put some things in numbers, say, hey, usually you can expect this. Your length of life is about over with. So consequently, these are items that you should look at. Then if you agree with that, we will move forward with a final audit to put, final numbers on all the things that we've talked about. We will work with any local contractors that you have. So if you have a local mechanical, local electrical, we're happy to work with them. About the only thing we won't not work with is a local building management system. And having been in the business for 40 years, Ron and I know the goods and the bads on that. So we'll pretty much suggest a couple guys that we have. That's how we go to business. If you like what you hear, and if you want to proceed with that, I'm not quite sure what the next step in your organization is, but in a nutshell, in 15 minutes, that's what we have to offer. We're very good at what we do. We're proud of what we do, and we can send you a lot of good references. And we are local. We're out of Midland. And the courthouse building, when I was at Honeywell for 30 fun years, I helped put in some of that equipment. So I'm at least familiar with that building. And there's a lot of room for improvement there and opportunity. Having said that, and stay within the time frame, any questions?
Commissioner Hope?
Yeah, I have a question, Ron. And it has to do with the HVAC system. I was reading yesterday about air exchange rates, and this is a little off the energy issue, but it has to do with indoor air quality. And they're talking about the air exchange rate. A typical rate might be around 6. For everyone else, that means the length of time in 1 hour that the air in the room is completely replaced. And they're talking about, and I know this has been looked at before the COVID with other airborne diseases, boosting that air exchange rate higher. And I guess my question is, are you, in the industry, are you also looking at that? It's a little off the energy savings things, but it's an operational concern.
Yes, sir. We do that. That's a good question, because while there's no sensor for COVID, I wish there was, that we could put into space. What we do is on all your equipment that exchanges air, we will put it on the BMS building management system, and we will have on each device, be it an air handler that has many boxes on it, or a return air unit, whatever it happens to be, sensors in the space that will measure the O2. And consequently, what that does is we will be adjusting, because we will be controlling the RTU and the air handlers. We will adjust the outside air, the return air, based on the conditions at the present time. Now, what that means is, and that's also a very rebatable application from Consumers Power, who has now doubled their rebates because they're not getting any business because nobody's working. So, which is great for us. We're all for it. We will know, you will know, Steve will know what the O2 is at each sensor. And then also we would, again, automatically adjust the return air and the outside air dampers. And what we'd like to do on days that, is a stupid human, is we like, when you go from the unoccupied to the occupied setting, we flood the building with outside air. All right. We just pop open all that, because then I don't care what you say. It's nice to walk into a nice, clean, smells like outside building versus, it's been sitting all night, no air's been moving. So we will do that. And then we slide the start stop times, occupied, unoccupied, based on the environmental conditions at the time. You just tell us when you want it to be comfortable, what is comfort, and then you can put that away and not worry about it. Did that answer your question?
It does. Thank you. Yep.
Open anything further?
Yeah, the other question I have, I see in your brochure, you've listed solar power solutions,
Yes, sir.
wind solutions. Is that also part of
Yes,
what you guys do, or?
we do. I know DTE's putting in some windmills over by you right now, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, baby, you gotta learn more about us if you don't know that.
Oh, no.
Uh, wow,
We-
yeah, only
know
about 136 to the north part of the county, and I don't know how many the southern part of the county has, but we are a big entity and they're going up fast and furious.
Excellent. Well,
Oh.
in addition to that, we can do, we're familiar with solar. We have a solar partner. I don't believe in it in large buildings because of the limit of the solar generation that you can have from the state. But in some of your smaller buildings, we could definitely take a look at that and provide facts and figures on, what it would do and what it would provide.
Mr. Chairman, that's all I have for right now.
I just have a few questions. In regards to, you said you serviced, just got done with Gladwin. What was your cost estimated savings for Gladwin County?
What we were doing on there, they went for the 10-year financing, and the financing package was such that they didn't make a payment for the first 6 months until it was done. So that didn't hurt. And then also the payment minus the rebates, which were substantial, worked out to a cost ratio basis of 0 capital
Okay,
on a $1.5 million job.
so what
And
is
we
the,
can provide references.
so you said you spent the county roughly, there was a $1.5 million spend, but a net spend of 0. But what is the savings involved? What
I
are
don't
they, what
have
are they
that in
savings
front of
over?
me. It was about
Because if
30% of their bill.
Okay, because if I'm in net 0, why am I doing it then? I mean, maybe I mean,
They're not going to spend out of pocket for $1.5 million worth of upgrades that will last 20 plus years. Any
Okay.
money out of pocket.
and that would get me, you would estimate 30% savings on these
Just
energy
about,
bills?
yeah, pretty much. Maybe more.
Okay,
It depends. You've got some pretty inefficient equipment in the 2 buildings we looked at. But, I'd rather have you find 40 than 20.
okay. So that's one of our things. If you've an item number, you don't see our budget right now, but item number 8 and 9, I certainly don't want to be bringing under any more costs to our county. And if we can eliminate, that's fine. I mean, in savings, I think some of the stuff is no brainers. I think Steve Shoemaker, he coming new to the position, he already noticed some stuff that could be out there. Again, the big thing is our cost of the county. What is our upfront, if any? And I certainly don't want to take on any more debt to the county for it.
Well, that is
Yeah,
one of the
that's
that we talk about. It's important to know what
Yeah.
your financial situation is.
mhm.
And that's
Well, go ahead.
that's what happened with Gladwin. When we got pulled into Gladwin, they tried different things, different companies, and trying to find a solution and they had no money. I mean, Gladwin had no money, and so we put him into a positive monthly cash flow by the savings on the energy cost and the maintenance. Their maintenance was crazy because of all the outdated equipment. So yeah, they didn't, like Greg said, they didn't have to make a payment for 6 months, so they were already starting to save. Because we were replacing equipment that needed to be replaced immediately. So
Steve, can you hear me? Steve Shoemaker?
Yes. Yep.
Obviously, you haven't been on the, you haven't been, what's it, 1 month, 2 months? What's your frame
2.
right now? 2.
8 weeks.
Have you had a chance to go around everything? Have you put together any type of, not presentation, that's not the proper term I'm looking for. Recommendations or surveys or anything like that you've done? And what's your thoughts on
Nothing.
some of this stuff?
Nothing on paper. When I first came and I noticed all the fluorescent lighting,
Right.
light went off right there and then. I started pulling some figures together, thinking if I could take and have I solicited Block Electric to come in and give me a bid type stuff to replace all the fluorescents to LEDs. Saving on energy costs, saving on the, I'm gonna brain fart here,
Rebates,
pardon me?
rebates.
No, in the lights, why am I having, ballast, thank you. You know, I mean, the decreased cost there, I did the math on it. I come up with close to $36,000 a year just on these two buildings alone. And then we started thinking about the generators. I've got some bills, some work orders that are in the few $1,000s to repair some generators out at the 911. Had Ryan come out. And when he come out to take a look on it, he brought along Ron and Greg, and we started talking more about it. And I'm just waiting now to see what their recommendations are, what your thoughts are before we move forward with anything on this.
So in other words, we can make investments into our for lack of a better term, our energy infrastructure, or that's probably not a proper term. I don't think that even is a term, but, and net cost to us is 0, but net savings to us 20, I'll say 10%. I'll go highly conservative. Yeah, that's something I think we need to take a look at. I would like to see, Steve, maybe a detailed report from you first. I know you can get Ryan and Ron, and I didn't catch you. I'm sorry, I didn't write down the other gentleman's name. So I'm not opposed to using an outside vendor. I think an outside agent or an outside vendor works well, gives a fresh set of eyes, and they're probably more tied into a broader scope of, like they mentioned, rebates and everything. I'm concerned with keeping our costs very, very low. And if we can pick up any, I always analogize everything to trees. If we can pick up low hanging fruit, that's great. I mean, obviously you can do that pretty readily just by coming in and then start going for the higher stuff. Formerly having a business in Gladwin, I'm glad to see, I know that that's always been an interesting county as far as financing and their commissioners and everything go. So yeah, I'm not opposed to any of this. I'm just, like I said, and I like the fact that that is a more of a local entity. So yeah, I'm not opposed to it. Like I said, I don't want to take on any more costs of the county if we can avoid that. But as Commissioner Hope says, things are changing. If we've got old equipment and we're just spending foolish money on energy costs that we could save, and going forward, looking at different alternative means, I'm certainly not against that in any way, shape, or form. So,
Well,
so,
if you
yeah,
would,
I think this is something we should look at. Yeah.
Good. If
Go
you
ahead,
feel
sir.
comfortable with that, and that's one of the reasons it's so nice to get together, and thank you, Nicole, for putting this together, and Steve, that we now know that, okay? We know what your financial outlook is, what you want to do, how you want to do it, how you want to finance it. We understand that. And that's why we don't want to run out until we talk to people and, not have a goal in mind. So now we have a goal. You've been kind enough to share that. And if you want us to continue, we will bring you that.
Yeah, when I hear the term finance, that always perks my ears and scares me a little bit. I've got enough things on financing just on this agenda alone. I've got up to a $40 million finance project coming up in this county. We do. So, and like I said, I don't want to take on anything that would increase it. And if it helps us, that's within Commissioner Hope and I, that's what we strive for as commissioners, anything that can benefit the county. So yeah, I'm not opposed to it. I don't know where we're going to proceed from here. Maybe we don't have business sessions, unfortunately, for county commissioners. We haven't had. So this may have to come up in our board meeting as far as just a discussion instead of an item agenda. Steve, Steve Shoemaker, I'd like to have you make probably, or you can work with these gentlemen too. I don't care how it's done. Probably a better overview of our county facilities and our county entities to kind of give us a possibility what we're going to see.
Okay.
And Nicole, Coben, if it's all right with you, I'd like to maybe make this as I don't know if we can get it on our next Board of Commissioners meeting, but I think we definitely should have a discussion with the fellow commissioners in regards to an item like this.
Excellent.
I wouldn't want to vote on it right now. I don't think I'm not ready to bring it as a vote, but I do think since we're not having our business meetings, at least we can have it as a discussion item.
Chairman
Yeah,
Horton,
that's
I
certainly-
would add, I know this will be the first one since March, but we are having a work session
Oh.
next Tuesday because of
Okay.
the fiscal year 2019 audit presentation. So,
Okay.
so we will have time for a nice discussion on this at work session.
I think this is our next step. You know, and I thank these gentlemen for taking the time out because that, you know, it's good that we can't do face to face right now. You know, we can, but yeah, I'm not opposed to this in any means. I just want questions answered. I'd like to see more of it. And I think the rest of the Board of Commissioners need to add to this. So, you know.
I would agree with that. I think a full board discussion is the next logical step in this.
Yep.
And these gentlemen have a little better idea of what we're looking to get out of this. And we have a little better idea about how they function. So I think we can move forward from there. I'm not opposed to it either. Also
And go ahead.
about the financial aspect of it. So.
And also, I don't know, Nicole, this is probably more of an agenda thing. I don't know if Brandro needs to come in and do a presentation yet. Let's run it in front of probably the board and see if they do want to do that. And then if they do, then I think maybe what we'll do is do maybe more of a presentation after that or something like that. If we do
I
decide
think
to
that's
pursue this.
I think that's
That way we're not
best
not
plan.
having to do two presentations and having them do an additional one. They can just do one real nice formal presentation if that's the route we're going
Exactly.
to go. So.
Yes, and I think at this point, Branro was looking for, you know, conceptually, is this something the board would support? Because they're about to expend a lot of efforts to put together a proposal for us. So they just want to make sure this is something that the board would pursue if they can meet our goals and make it attractive for us, right? And so they just wanted that, I think, blessing. So I think discussion at work session is a good idea. I don't think they would need to attend. I think we understand the concept.
Yeah, we laid the groundwork, I think, a year ago, maybe not that long, with the Verizon and the company, whatever we did, picking up stuff. So this is kind of going, I see it more along the same lines. Yeah, let's have a discussion with the commissioners and we'll decide if this is the path you want to go. Steve, I also would like to have you get something put together too, if you can, or and working with whomever. So I think this is a good thing. I mean, I'm not opposed to it by any means. So,
Excellent.
okay. Well, thank you, gentlemen. I
Thank you.
appreciate it. Thank you very, very much. Nice meeting all three of you and take care. So,
All right, thank you very
Thanks,
much.
guys.
All right.
Appreciate
Thank you
it.
for being here. Thank you.
next up is the August 6th, 2020 routine personnel items. Tobin, what do you see?
A whole bunch of step increases. One retirement and one new hire. And everything else is step increases.
So public defender's office, man, has that been a fast year or is that just me?
It's been a fast year. That's
Okay.
exactly
All
what
right.
we said around here.
All right. So, yeah, I don't see, too much step increase problems. It's just following our guidelines. So,
Right.
all right, I'll make a motion to consider accepting and placing on file the August 6, 2020 routine personnel items as presented.
Support.
Anything else on that, Tobin?
No, sir.
All right, moving forward. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. It will go forward to the board. Okay. Next up, do we have the drain commissioner on yet?
He is not. Drain Commissioner Willoughby texted me at the beginning of the meeting when I suggested he would be joining. He said he's watching on YouTube. So I've let him know if he wants to address the board, he needs to join the Zoom meeting. I've given him instructions on how to call in.
Okay.
I do
And-
not see him joining at this time.
Tobin, what's your thoughts on this?
Didn't we just do this a year ago and wasn't it for the same drain, that little tobacco?
Bob's,
Intercounty
I think you're right, Tobin, because Drain Commissioner Willoughby's text to me said, if there's questions, he'd be happy to answer. This is just the final on this project. So yes, you have seen this before.
Okay.
That's what I thought, the 70-30.
Yeah,
I think Chairman Green sat in on something when we discussed this too, if I recall, Tobin. I
He
think
did.
George was, I
yeah,
think George was a little passionate on this one.
he was.
So what is, the county is pledging full faith and credit? Is that,
Yes, that is
and I think we didn't
at
have
least
any,
towards 30% of the project. Yes.
okay. And the project is, okay, just as normal drains would go, so. Yeah, okay. Tobin, anything else?
Yeah, Nicole, if Clare County somehow defaults on their portion of it, that it doesn't leave us liable for any of that?
I don't believe it would, Tobin, because this is so adamant that we have only 30% of the project. There
Uh-huh.
is a caller on the line. Let me let them into the room and see if this is, let's see if this is our drain commissioner. You are muted, caller. Bob, is that you?
Hi,
Hi, Bob.
yes, it is.
Thanks for joining us.
Hi. Yeah, this is the one Tobin said there about a year ago. That was, this is just, we're finally bid the project out and we're getting rolling. The first one was for we had to finance just for engineering and other costs. This is a humongous project, and anything over $1 million, I have to have full faith and credit from the county. And we even went over $1 million on our financing for our layout, but it's all done, and I was real happy with our bid numbers. I think it's going to be a good project.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, Bob, will you be around to, for the Board of Commissioners presentation, probably can put it on our business meeting. Will you be around for that then? Apparently we're having a business meeting at 4:00 next Tuesday. You gonna be around for that then?
4:00, yeah, I can get, it's going to be another Zoom meeting.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah, yep.
Yep, I can do that. 4:00 Tuesday. What day would that be?
18th, Bob.
18th?
Yep, and
Okay.
it'll be a new invite, so you'll have a new meeting ID
Okay.
for that meeting, but we'll make
Okay.
sure to send it to you.
I'm
Okay,
sure Chairman Green will have some questions for you, so.
okay.
All right, Bob, thank you for joining us.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is something we've already looked at it, talked about it, full faith and credit, how they collect and everything. I mean, Tobin has a good question as far as what happens. I think we've asked that before too. We just want to make sure that we're thinking we're going in at 30% and we come out with 100% responsibility on $11 million.
Right.
That's not a good way to
Don't
make
want
friends
that.
with us, Clare County.
No.
So yeah, I'm okay with it. So you want
Okay.
to make the motion? No, me too.
I will. I'll make the motion, Mr. Chairman, that we consider adopting the Isabella County Board of Commissioners Resolution number 20-8-01, pledging full faith and credit to Little Tobacco Inter-County Drain Bonds and authorize the board chair to sign the same.
I'll support that. Any further discussion? Hearing none or seeing none, we'll step the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Okay, goes to the board at 2-0. Next up, third quarter financial management services report. Steve, go ahead. Steve Kernovit.
Great, thank you. Should have, I think it's in the packet. It was kind of obviously, like everybody has said, an odd time for the last quarter, that we did our accounting services and so forth. Most of it was done remotely. We started towards the tail end of the quarter. I started coming back on site and all masked up and everything for some part of June. But like I said, majority of it was done off site. So So this report obviously maybe is a little bit smaller, I guess, if you want to say, just because I didn't spend a substantial amount of time during the quarter working remotely. I was obviously not on site doing things as readily as I had done in the past. So a lot of it is just continuation of what we've always, worked on. So I'll just kind of zip through the points. If you have questions, just holler at me. But first one, again, mostly remote, looking at systems, processes as we went through, things would come up. How should we handle this remotely? And there'd be a few times where I would answer, questions and that type of thing. But overall, with, everybody in the administrator's office, taking certain days and coming in and doing things, a vast majority of the systems and processes were done the same. It was just, some of it was done remotely and the process of printing checks or whatever it may be, a lot of that was done the same. So it was just kind of people, came in on a periodic basis. So there wasn't a bunch of people in the office at the same time. So that was, as things came up, we discussed certain things as we went through. Second point, the trial court bank reconciliations at the end of the quarter. When I came back on site, I had a nice little stack of catch up to do, and I got those caught up through. They provided those on a monthly basis, again, with their limited staff on site and so forth. They would send those to me. And I got those caught up through April. And then since, as of today, the 11th of August, I think we're through June. So I got those prepared. If you remember, that was in 17-18. That was, one of our last findings and of having the trial court reconciliation kind of summarized in a little different format for the auditors. Trial court's done a great job getting those to us, and then we've been summarizing them. So that continues to be resolved, and so we don't have an issue there. Third point related to budget. Obviously, two of the ladies on your screen carried the load heavily on the budget. I was just available as needed, answered a few questions here and there, and as things came up. But like I said, Melissa and Nicole did a vast majority of the work there. But as needed, I was able to offer some suggestions and help with things here and there. But like I said, they did a vast majority of the work there. Going on to the next page, the attended various meetings. Obviously, most of them were in this format and via Zoom and so forth. Just to point out, as it says there, probably the most important one that I thought was weekly. The administrator controller's office would have I don't know, for lack of better terms, like an update meeting every Monday, and those were very helpful to me and insightful to be able to kind of keep up on the goings on of the office and the county as a whole. So I appreciated being involved with those, but attended those and attended various other meetings throughout the quarter. Continue to review journal entries, as number 5 talks about. Again, being remote, I couldn't do that while I was off site. So that last part of the quarter, I think we had, as it says there are about 600 journal entries that again, all the offices, post and then the administrator's office posts and reviews and that type of thing. So there was a lot of time to kind of catch up on those journal entries. And also, as it says there, I mean, everybody did a great job. I mean, from, all the offices that post journal entries. I had very few questions. I had 2 or 3 questions for Melissa, and I don't think any of them resulted in any changes or whatever. So if you look at that vast volume that all departments did throughout the quarter, they did a great job, with postings and getting the right account numbers and description, and all that kind of stuff. So that was, as it says there, it's a testament to the hard work of all those individuals and the conscientiousness of various county staff. So that's great. Number 6, I know I think in April via Zoom, I think the first quarter, well, actually your March 31st, 2020 quarter was presented. The financial report and my report was presented, and I think next on the agenda is the third quarter. So getting those reports and continue to present to the commissioners. And then finally got started on the delinquent tax revolving analysis as we've done annually. If you recall, 18-19 analysis was quite a bit more in depth than the year before. We did a lot more of a weekly analysis and so forth. 19-20 kind of honed that down a little bit and did some things and even probably a little more in depth. You always kind of learn from the first time to the second time where things, you improve your analysis and so forth. And so I got that analysis completed after this quarter was done, but in July and the first part of August. And so looking forward down the road as the time is appropriate to present that to the commissioners. That's about it. I don't know if there's any specific questions, or I know I'll be attending next work session too. I know I usually don't go through it in depth, obviously, with the commissioners, but I'll be there in case there is questions. I know usually Commissioner Horton, you point this to there, but other than that, I'll be in attendance if there's any questions from other commissioners next week.
Tobin, anything?
I have one question, Steve, on number 7 on the delinquent tax revolving fund.
Tobin, before we
Yes,
get
sir.
going on this, Nicole, what's your thoughts? Should we be discussing this on number 7 since we're in litigation?
Well, I'm waiting on an email back from the attorney to understand just that.
I can hold off on that.
Yeah, I would, Tobin, if you have questions on that one, maybe contact Steve.
Yep,
So instead of, let's not have
fair enough.
a public forum, let's not have that since we're in litigation. But
Right.
I have some questions on that too, Steve. So Tobin and I might be calling you.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
sir.
Yeah. I would not. Sorry to interrupt you, Tobin. I didn't want to step on your toes there, but I was.
No,
I
I understand. No, that's fine.
Yeah, and I was going to stop Steve if he got too in depth on that, so he didn't, and then
Yes.
I forgot to mention that before. So,
High overview.
Okay. Yeah.
So I don't know. Do we again? Maybe this is a matter of proceeding with this letter. Nicole, what's your thoughts if we even take off number 7 on our board discussion for next time? Because I don't know if we even want to bring that out there. I don't know if that's, check with the attorney on that, see what their thoughts are.
Yep, I will. I'm checking with them on a few other things in that
I know-
regard.
I know it's a public record already, so, but if we don't put it as part of our board discussion, I think that for next time, because this will obviously be an agenda item for board discussion. Or board, that we just discussed this, right? We don't accept this, we discuss it. It's how do we do that in our regular, as far as
I think you do accept and place on
well,
file.
obviously we are, yeah, so, I don't know if we want to put number 7. No, I guess we can. It's not gonna hurt, but
The analysis occurred,
it did.
the
So,
analysis definitely
I
occurred.
would leave it just at that, though, that we did do an analysis, and that's probably true. That we don't want to, there's no sense leaving it out. It's already out there, so, okay. Oh, but anything else on the thing besides number 7?
Nope.
Because I think next one will tie into our next topic. So I'll make a motion then to consider accepting and placing on file the fiscal year 2020 third quarter financial management services report as presented.
I'll support that.
Okay. Here, let's see, make sure before I go forward, I don't have anything to add. I don't think I do. So, okay, hearing and seeing none, I'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. It will go forward. Next up, the third quarter financial report as presented. Steve or Nicole, who wants to handle this one? Or anybody want to handle it? No.
Well, the front page is always dismal this time of year. Remember, our 6.61 of county operating levy did not even go out on the tax bills until after this reporting period. So, that's always where we're at this point of the year, really. Taxes at June 30 are obviously, just under 8%. If we brought in everything budgeted for, we would be at 85% of our revenues right now. So I just wanted to, to share that fact with you, because we do always lag because of when our operating tax is levied. So
That's got to be interesting on the cash flow. When you look at total revenue right now as of 6:30, we received 6.2 million and we're operating on a $20 million budget. That's always fun. But again, it comes in, like you said, I think what, 9/4 is the tax payment date?
That is
Something like
correct. Yes.
that?
9/14.
9/14,
So every year the county runs into this
Right.
cash flow problem, but we've always had a healthy fund balance to help with that. And everybody thinks that just covers it, but it's not cash. And so usually in May and June, those are really tight months for the county cash flow wise. So this year is no different. I know we've had to do some due tos and due fronts to help feed the general fund through this. It's not it's not a mismanagement issue or anything like that. It's just a function of our revenues come to us in the last quarter of our operating year. It's pretty tough to cash flow that. We always manage it though. So really, on this page, the taxes is the big thing that our eye goes to. We always know that those lag behind. Licenses and permits certainly are lagging from where they should be. Part of that has to do with the wind project escrow, and that last year, I think the bulk of those projects were done as far as the front end timing of the permitting process, right? We're well into the construction now. So I think that those weren't coming in like we had projected, but if later on when we look at their expenses aren't there either. So they kind of match up.
What kind of revenue loss have we seen from the parks as far as the loss in fees involving camping and stuff like that? I know, is that reflective in this license and permits? And parks fees revenue be reflected in that or not?
No parks revenues would be reflected in this at all. This would only be general fund.
Okay.
The last time I spoke with Sue Ann, I believe we were up around $45,000 that had been refunded in camping and cabin fees. But that would all be in the Parks 208 fund, which we'll get to that in a couple of pages.
Yep, I see that. Okay. Yep. There we go.
A lot of our federal and state revenues, they're sitting here at 60%. Remember, we really should be 75% end of June. This is a lot of timing on things, and we see that across the board, not only in general fund, but our friend of the court, child care fund. Those funds are really lagging with reimbursements. They're so far behind right now. We're hoping that they come in. Charges for services, that's a little tougher. That is not so much timing. That is directly related to COVID and being closed and not being fully operational to take in charges for services. Our inmate housing is down, compared to what we had estimated in the budget as well. District court costs certainly are down. Those are going to be a little tougher to make up, but that's not all timing. Fines and forfeitures are kind of the same type of thing. COVID has really impacted those revenues. Interest and rents are very strong. Other revenues are very strong. We've got a workers' comp dividend in there that is kind of beefing up those numbers. So overall, at 30% for revenues received, again, I would say if bringing in all the tax revenue we budgeted for, we'd be at 85% revenues right now. And that makes me feel a lot more comfortable. We will have those come in.
Now, what happens with, I'm sorry, Tobin, if you want to have it, I just had a couple questions on that.
No, you go right ahead.
All right. I had heard you mention in regards to things being down as far as charges for services and everything. We're at 53%. Ideally, if you think about it, we'd stay for 70, let's say 75% just for comparison purposes. So roughly that's what, 22% down from where we're anticipated maybe to be. How is that going to, and 22% 2.3 million. Steve Kernovic's on my thing here, so let's see, 23, 46, so around 6,000 and change, over $600,000. How is that reflected? When do we have to then pull that more out of the fund balance? We don't receive those revenues, and that further hits our fund balance. Is that what we're looking at if we don't have anything to offset that loss of revenue?
That is correct. We do have a few of those funding streams we're trying for the payroll reimbursement grant through the CARES Act dollars. We don't know where that's going to, where our reimbursement might fall in that. But yes, I mean, we're the only place to make that up is either other revenue sources or taking it from fund balance.
So let's take a look at that then. Let's forget about taxes. As we've discussed taxes, we'll assume taxes will be status quo. We'll make a big assumption, capital assume all the way across with exclamation points all the way. Licenses and permits were at 40.45. We talked about that. Federal and state, for instance, I'll say, would we normally be at 75%, or that's fairly common? Like I said, roughly 14.5% down. Where is that going to come from? That's pretty hefty dollar out there if you're down 14.5%. If that's not going to be made up. Let's see. Yeah, licensing, like some of these are, if we're down like some at 75%, I'm not going to talk the delinquent tax revolving fund, but if that's not touched anymore, where is that? Is that going to come out of the fund balance then to take out? If we're at actual 600 right now, I'm not, again.
Well, remember, this is the June 30 report as well.
Right. But I don't think I don't want to go into it, but I don't think anyway, some of these things that we're not going to hit our budget. Let's put it that way. It's pretty clear. But then again, you don't know what your expenditures are either. So I know I'm looking at more of a glass half empty approach right now, and I'm trying not to. So I just get real worried though, because, as you mentioned, some of these things you're just not going to get back.
Correct.
Hopefully on the other side, maybe we didn't have the expenses to being shut down. I don't know. And I guess that will balance itself out. But looking at some of this, I mean, obviously we didn't decrease having services. That includes employee expenses and all this other. I don't think we stopped that. So I think that's going to probably stay the same as anticipated. So that's a big expense that is not going to be lowered.
That is exactly right, Mr. Chairman. And that's what you see over the next couple of pages are your expenditures.
Right.
And we're, spot on 75%, right? I mean, the only good news there is we haven't overspent.
Right.
Some of those expenditures, though, do take us through the end of the year, bond payments and our MSU extension contract, certain things that are paid out through the end of the year. However, to your point, Mr. Chairman, we are at 75% expenditures.
And you look at some of these revenue sources on the back page. Some of these depend highly on state dollars. Again, I know it's a timing issue, but hopefully we can get back up. And see, inspections is up because that's probably because of the turbine projects, I'm imagining. But
that's exactly right.
You look at friend of the court, they're down. Again, a lot of state fund, federal fund. Commission on Aging is at 76.67% revenue, but we already know that the state cut some of their funds.
Yes. As far as friend of the court and child care, I believe we just got the January reimbursement. Is that right, Melissa? That just came in. As far as this report is missing for child care. It's missing January through June. For friend of the court, it's missing February through June. I mean, so we are getting caught up, and we have just gotten some of those reimbursements in, but that gives you an idea of how far behind they were as of the June 30 report.
Yeah, I just see something like this as, a lot of times in the past, we just kind of take that for granted and say, we're at 50%, we're at 75%. But now we have a lot of unknowns out there, and the unknowns seem to be not on the positive side. So, but again, we can switch the glass around and look at the glass half full. So I don't know. Tobin, thoughts? Anything?
No, just cause for concern. On the revenue page, under federal and state, and then if you combine that with charges for services, you've got almost $6 million budgeted, and we're at 60% and 53%. So it's, every time I see these, every quarter when I see these, it's a little concerning, but I guess it's a snapshot of where we are right now. I guess we have to wait and see.
Yeah, we got that 4-letter word COVID out there.
Right.
And that's the great, that was the great unknown when we made this budget back a year ago. So didn't have any idea that was coming.
So
so-
a ton of uncertainty right now. But
Yeah.
I would say that, the county going into COVID has a healthy fund balance. And we are in a good position. I know the air is uncertain, and I know I don't have good news for you on necessarily either one of the next two items on your agenda. But these are unprecedented times. This is going to impact us.
Okay. All right. Tobin, anything else?
I don't have anything else. No, sir.
I don't either. All right, I'll make a motion to consider accepting and placing on file the fiscal year 2020 third quarter financial report as presented.
Support.
All right, anything else? Hearing, seeing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same, and we'll go forward. All right, here we go. Go ahead, Nicole.
Okay, so this budget amendment, as your very long budget amendment motion states, this budget amendment is necessary to adjust the budget to increase our expenditures in regards to the Siegel Waters implementation, the classification compensation study that was implemented in the sheriff's office and prosecutor's office last November. Since then, it's been implemented in Register of Deeds, the county clerk, the county drain commissioner, and county treasurer's offices. Those have already obviously been approved by the board, and the total amount of the impact of those general fund wage implementations was $456,267. So that's a portion of this budget amendment. And we need to, obviously, as you look at our expenditures, the 630 is on track, but if you look at our expenditures since then, you'll start to see some of these departments go, approach the higher realms of their budget because the budget amendment hasn't been done yet. So that's a big chunk of this. Also in this budget amendment are the invoices we have paid thus far on the jail construction project. These would be invoices to Clark Construction Company, who is the county's construction manager on the project, and to Integrated Architecture, who are the architects and engineers on the project. To date, in our fiscal year, those jail project invoices total $607,800. They have to be part of this budget amendment because we need to account for these expenditures, but I want to make it clear, every bit of the $607,800 that we have spent on the jail project and those type of costs going forward will all be reimbursed when we issue a bond for the jail project. Those will be reimbursed to general fund, but right now there's been no bond issued, and so there's no type of money to pay those other than out of general fund. So there is a little silver lining there. Those will come back to us as soon as the board passes what's called a notice of intent on the jail bond issue. That notice of intent resolution is followed by a 45-day period of right of referendum for the voters throughout the county. And if we are successful in through that 45-day where there's no petition to stop the project, then we can quite readily apply for what's called a bond anticipation note, and that will quite quickly reimburse us those costs. So we do have a little wait as far as the notice of intent process, but those monies do come back to us.
Now, has that been, correct me if I'm wrong, and again, maybe I'm not hearing correctly, but I don't think we as a board has decided actually how we're going to pay for the jail project, all right? We're talking bonds, but I don't believe as a board, we've got to decide exactly if that's the route we're gonna, as a full board. I know there's been discussions, but I don't think we've decided exactly how that's going to be funded.
That is correct. Yes, the commission has not decided how it will fund the project. Likely bonds will need to be issued for that size of a project. But to your point, Chairman, you are correct. The board has not decided that.
Regardless of what source of funding, yeah, that's got to be accounted for. That again, that makes sense. I mean, if you're pulling it, if you're taking money out of the checkbook, you got to account for the expense. Otherwise, it just looks like someone's putting it in their pocket. That's not
Yes.
correct either. You got to have some, you got to have some expense balance sheet. So,
That is
Tobin-
correct. So I would share there is a little bit of good news in this budget amendment. So all of those total $1,064,067. The good news is with the elimination, the legislature eliminated the August revenue sharing payment to us in the amount of $313,000, but has promised us replacement revenue from CARES Act funding to the tune of 1.5 times our August revenue sharing payment. So that was a known good news that we could build in to offset a little bit of this. We will have a little additional revenue coming to us in that regard.
okay. Again, though, is that going to affect your cash flow since the state shared income tax that probably came in sooner than this anticipated CARES Act revenue? Is that going to affect your cash flow at all?
A little bit, but now we're in a situation where taxes are starting to come in. So, we are climbing out of the cash flow situation now.
And also too, Tobin, okay, go ahead. It's okay if I ask questions, Tobin, or you
Yeah,
want to
go
go
ahead,
first?
sir.
All right. Now, in regards to some of these expenditures with the sheriff's office, where are we at with as far as, I know we made a grant request. So if the grant request comes in, that will help offset some of these budget amendments. Is that a correct statement or not? My understanding. Now,
Yes,
was
sir.
it the sheriff? Does the prosecuting attorney's office fall into that category too, since they were around, or was it just sheriffs and dispatch and whatever?
Not
I
for
can't
the
remember,
not
so I
for
don't
the
have it in front of me,
payroll.
so.
Not for the
Okay.
payroll reimbursement grant. However, there is a grant that is due this Friday, specific to the prosecuting attorney's office and specific to the sheriff's office and specific to courts that
Okay.
we will be applying for too. It doesn't cover wages. It's kind of one of those that I think the only thing that one will cover is actual COVID expenditures or overtime expenses. So for
Okay.
PA's office, that's fairly limited.
Okay. Yeah, out of the 456,267, I know we've also got, what is the anticipated amount? I think I asked this before, with the remainder of the not elected officials, the department heads and the courts, because we're probably going to have to take another budget amendment, I would assume. What is I've got a question. What is the anticipated amount of that if everything has,
I
not
have current year and again, going back to
April
the
2nd?
retro back to April has been the discussion thus far.
Right. Mhm.
I have that at 134,000 in the current year. Does that sound right to you, Melissa?
Yes, ma'am.
That's the number. I kind of had 100. I remember I've had 100, I had 150, but I think I rounded up.
Sure.
Okay. So we anticipate that coming further as more expenditures going out. My next question is, I guess I could save it to the 2021 budget, but is these increases then reflected in our 2021 budget for salaries and everything? Is that are you obviously carrying these forward then into 2021? I would assume.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Not only the ones that have been implemented, but also per your direction, when we brought the first draft budget, also building into the fiscal 21, the additional departments that haven't been implemented yet.
All right. Yeah, I mean, like, you know, I personally caught some flack months ago in regards to this, in regards to the sheriff's and the prosecuting attorney's office. If you look at the amount that was spent out of the 456, probably 70-80% of that is those two departments. And we had a lot of discussions during our finance administration and also during our board meeting. And you got to look at these as these are, for lack of a better term, essential folks in our group. And these are also ones that have tough time without these in place, personnel in place. It is not going to be safe in our county. And public safety is